So, good afternoon and welcome to the second part of a webinar looking at BT security and the roles that are currently coming through from the organisation. So, during this second webinar, we are going to be providing a brief overview of BT security. I'm also pleased to be joined by a full team from BT Security and a number of veterans among there who will be able to share their own stories and talk through a lot of the roles within the organisation in a bit more detail. And then we'll actually go into the recruitment process itself. So, with no further ado, I would like to reintroduce Mark Arscott from BT. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Pete. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. A quick intro about myself. I'm BT's head of military engagement, and my job is to, in a nutshell, make sure that our Armed Forces Covenant pledges are delivered. And so I manage a program that provides mutually beneficial outcomes. So everything I do benefits BT, it benefits Defence and the Armed Forces community. And the real focus at the moment on our continuing recruitment of service leavers. BT employs more veterans and reservists than any other company in the UK. We're really proud of that. We want to continue. And in BT Security, as you'll hear today, we are a growing part of the business. We have a lot of veterans in BT Security and we want more. I originally joined BT in '98 on the graduate scheme. I left in 2002 and rejoined in September 15 after a period of full-time military service. So, and I'm still an Army Reserve officer. So that's about me. In terms of BT Security as a business, I'd refer to a webinar that we held last week that goes into detail about the different parts of our business, what we do, how we operate, and that's available on the Officers Association website or via the OA YouTube channel. But just to really give an overview, we have loads of different career options. When we talk about security, we're talking about across the spectrum, so physical and cyber. We have currently 113 roles available worldwide as we operate in 180 different countries. 28 vacancies currently in the UK, and in the future there will be dozens more, and that future means in the next few weeks. And we're advertising roles at a number of different levels. We have an apprentice scheme, we have a graduate scheme, and then as sort of experienced hires, we look at analysts, specialists, and senior specialists in technical, commercial, product management, portfolio, project management roles, and we'll go into a bit more detail later on in the call about those.
Thinking about that, Mark, that's a really good opportunity to actually introduce the rest of the team who can actually talk through a number of these different areas in a bit more detail. So if I could maybe introduce our first veteran for this afternoon, including yourself, Mark, is Clem Craven. And hi, Clem, could you maybe just talk through your background and role within BT Security?
Yeah, certainly. Good morning, or good afternoon as is. My name's Clem Craven and I'm the Senior CSIRT Training Lead, and CSIRT is the Cybersecurity Incident Response Teams, and that's part of PBT, which is Protect BT. So obviously we have our own teams that look after BT internally all over the globe. My background is I did 22 years with the Royal Air Force Police as a counterintelligence investigator and cybersecurity investigator, and also lectured at the Defence College of Police and Guard at MOD Southwark Park for the RF Police, the RMP, the Royal Navy Regulators and the MOD Police. When I left at the end of my career, I transitioned across into BT on one of the major projects that we have, designing and training the MOD with their cybersecurity platforms that we built within BT. Part of the area that we do within what I actually do itself is I teach all of the teams that perform with the CSIRT for Protect BT to ensure that all individuals have the relevant skills that are required to do the job and to maintain those skills. So as threats come in and they change, we're able to adapt to that and make sure that the guys are not just left to their own devices. We have a full training packages that we put through, and if they don't exist, we manufacture them ourselves. Within my team, I've got a number of individuals. We've got lots of qualifications in what we've done. We've got a lot of experience, some ex-forces, some ex-industry in different areas, and we use those skills to come through. And that is basically what my team does.
Okay, thanks, Clem. Maybe Ian, could you now introduce yourself, please?
Certainly. Hi, Pete. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Ian Hopkins. I'm the head of cybersecurity governance and business intelligence. So basically, my role is to govern a new way of working within the cybersecurity practice. I work with a whole range of guys and girls where they design, build, and create these platforms where Clem and their team look after the Protect BT type of life. I'm a BI guy. I'm not a developer. I'm not a software engineer. I'm an engineer by trade. I started off in the business 11 years ago when I left a full-time reserve scheme within the Royal Signals. Started off as an open reach engineer, going up holes, going down holes, doing all the wonderful things that our frontline business and our network in the middle works. Worked through the business, managed to use my reserve career. I'm a reserve warrant officer. In part with BT to become a senior manager and a head of to look after these types of things. I'm responsible for the day-to-day leadership and management within these teams. I look after a lot of senior and junior guys within our quality and test area, and I basically provide that governance wraparound what we do within delivery for nation states.
Thanks, Ian. And Hugh, could you introduce yourself as well, please? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, so Hugh Brown, I'm the Chief Information Security Officer for BT Defence. So in three very broad terms, what does that mean? Well, I own the security relationship between BT Security and the MOD, which is a very interesting job and lots of very interesting discussions you can imagine across the whole of the MOD, top to bottom, and across all the frontline commands. Also, I'm meant to, and I don't know if I ever actually achieved this, meant to be out there sort of trying to do thought leadership, both with defence, to get them to understand how we do security in BT, how we've done that for other companies, whether that be banks or whether that be nation states, and what they can learn from it, but also wider in the piece. And then finally, which is where I keep up my job, is I'm accountable for all the security obligations we have on our contracts, and which is far and wide with BT and defence. How did I get here? Well, I left the Navy 9 years ago as a weapon engineering officer, and I luckily in some ways, but sort of just from working hard and knowing people and building the relationships and just pushing myself out there, I've done some amazing things. So I designed and built Protect BT when it first came around, so how does BT protect itself from cyber cases? I built a national cyber security centre for a nation state, and then I ran the portfolio coming into this role. And I think the key thing for when you're thinking about moving outside of the military, when you're thinking to move into industry, is to work about not only what the skills that you've got from military that you can use that transfer across, so relationship building, how you understand people, how do you get on with people, but also what is the thing that makes you unique. And what makes you unique as a person is not necessarily, it doesn't have to be your technical skills or your deep technical understanding or deep expertise. It can be the way that you work, your behaviours. How do you tackle problems? How do you get to know people? How do you understand stuff? And that's absolutely key, especially if you start moving into a more of a sales or relationship type of job. But that's enough from me for the moment.
That's great. Thank you, Hugh. Really good insight here. And finally, as part of the team, we've got Dave Brown, not a veteran, but recruiter of veterans. Hi, Dave.
Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. My name is Dave Brown. I'm part of the commercial security operations team within BT Security. I've worked for BT a long time, 37 years, but only 3 of those years in security. So I joined into BT Security 3 years ago. I've covered 3 distinct roles in BT Security during those 3 years. One as a compliance specialist lead, managing a team of specialists that were responsible for scanning BT server estate against BT security policies. I was a service optimization specialist. So what does that mean? So I was heavily involved with recruiting in India. So we have 13 security operations centers in the commercial world in BT. One of those I set up and supported to set up in India. I recruited over an 18-month period 40 people in India, covering the SOC role, ASG, threat assessment managers, that sort of thing. I also, under the service optimization role, was responsible for business health. So that's around developing meaningful metrics. What should we measure? How do we measure and drive efficiencies? My current role that I have at the moment is global DDoS manager. So that is a commercial global DDoS manager. So I have a team, a SOC in Brazil of 8 people that cover 24/7 a financial customer that we provide a service to in Brazil. And I have a team of 7 in the UK of specialists and senior specialists that support third-line DDoS support. Okay, that DDoS support covers everything from pre-sales technical support to sell their offering to customers, providing low-level designs, provisioning the service, tuning the service, and working with customers to tune the service to their environment, and also in life. So what in life means, if the customers are attacked, that we will support the customers during an attack, help with mitigations, and my team certainly cover 24/7. They're an on-call team.
That's great, Dave. Thank you very much for that. And for everyone listening in, I think, having seen the profile of 5 members of the team alone, you will see just the breadth of opportunities that are across BT Security, and certainly the roles that are starting to come through on the OA Executive Jobs Board and Rights Jobs as well. You'll see just the breadth in there. There's an opportunity now just to ask questions of the individuals who have just introduced themselves. So please submit your questions. I've got a few that I can share now. And first off, Dave, thinking about language and translating from military into BT speaking there, and technical speaking there as well. Could I maybe just ask the obvious question of what do you mean by DDoS? And what would that look like, and what skill sets you'd expect behind that?
So DDoS is, well, it stands for Distributed Denial of Service. So it's obviously a type of cyber attack on our customer base. The sort of people that I employ, and I currently have 3 vacancies that and I am recruiting. I've got one guy from the army that's going to join me on the 6th of August that I've recently interviewed. The sort of skills I'm looking for, I don't think the DDoS skills are particularly out there. What I look for in a DDoS skilled person is really strong network characteristics. They've got strong network experience, IP network experience, self-starters, self-learning. This guy I'm bringing in from the army, he's studying for his CCNA. Qualifications help, but again, it's around experience and attitude that we're looking for. So again, I'm looking to upskill this guy to the DDoS skills. If he has an understanding of security, if he's got real strong network skills, I can apply the DDoS knowledge on top of people. So don't be frightened of terminology and around DDoS. Network skills, strong network skills really help.
And Dave, just to repeat the qualification. Sorry, I didn't catch that. The qualification you mentioned to work towards that was of use for you.
So there's no specific qualification. There's lots of qualifications out in the security environment around CCNA, CISSP, CompTIA. So it's qualifications for me demonstrate people learning and wanting to get in that environment, and it helps to understand if people have got certain amount of skills. But I think practical skills we look for. If people demonstrate some really hands-on practical skills, I think that also helps.
That's great, thank you. I'm just thinking on your slide at the moment, Dave, there's a few job titles in this, but maybe I can field this one for Clem. That there's specialist is a job title that has come up a lot, and there's a few specialist roles already being advertised on vacancies at the moment. Could you maybe break down what is a specialist? We're maybe more familiar with things like managers, heads of, senior managers, etc. What is a specialist in BT Security?
Oh, okay, so if you take my team, for example, I'm a senior specialist, so I run my team as it is, but I have a team of specialists. And what that is that's the grade that they're in. So it's not that they're a specialist in a certain area, it's the actual grade. It's a management grade that you have on there. But for our people to be at a specialist grade, if you want to do, I would be able to give them a task that I want them to do, and they would be able to walk away with it and just get on with it to a certain degree. And they would then, obviously come back to me and say how they're getting on and that kind of thing, but I wouldn't need to micromanage them and that sort of thing. I could just, you know, develop that sort of thing. And this is where the military side of it comes in really, really well, because the work ethic from military guys is absolutely second to none. It's absolutely fantastic. And I will, you know, I would employ ex-military every day and night because of that sort of thing. So the sort of things I'm looking for is I can give a task to someone, which we've always done when we've been in the military, whether we've been on ops or at home or whatever it is, and we just crack on and get on with it. And that's the sort of thing. So the specialist part that you're looking at is a grade that we have in there, and it's a managerial grade. So you could end up that you could be ending up that you're looking after a couple of people as well. It depends on what the role is.
Right, brilliant. No, thank you for that. There's a temptation specialist. It's quite niche, maybe entry level, but actually there's a much more responsibilities and accountability within that role, and hence the job title there. So thank you for that. And just if Ian, maybe I could ask a question with you, share a question with you. When you're working on the governance and BI side of things with particular clients and partners, what does it actually look like? What does the day-to-day piece of that look like?
The day-to-day piece is asking some of those honest conversations and the honest questions to say, within this process, we're going from A to B, or if it's incident management, if we're looking for a process flow, what does it mean? Where is the value add? What does it mean for our customer or internal customers, external customers? And just ensuring that we're thinking about everything that we can do, not just diving straight into the detail and into the technical ability of what we can do and how we can provide those services. But I like what Hugh spoke about earlier on, that actual thought leadership process to say, how will this impact not just to our business, but to the people that we provide that service to?
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Ian. And maybe I can also ask a similar question to Hugh. There's a common maybe misperception in there that service leavers are going to struggle within commercial roles, within that sales element, you know, the old cold calling and everything like that. I mean, what are your experiences of transferring into a more commercial role, having left the Navy?
I think the key thing is don't be very careful about assumptions people make based on what they've heard and what they've read when looking at job adverts. So, for example, sales, yes, there is a view of what a salesperson is, and some of that is based on truth, some of it is just made up, more added to by television programs. But the key bit is to go in there, talk about it, find out what the organization is like, what their culture is like, and then see how you personally fit with that piece. So I'll give you an example. For example, in my world, selling is a lot about just understanding the customer, building up the relationship with them, putting yourself in their shoes, understanding where they're going, what they're doing, what their aims are, and trying to work out how you can take the best bits of the company that you're representing to fit in with them and work together. It's not about banging the phones. It's not about selling them a used car. It's about understanding what they're trying to do and working out how you can help them do what they do. And that's, again, where the military's all been about. Whether it's on operations, whether it's working across different teams, whether it's moving jobs every 2 years and building your new network and understanding who you can use from old networks to do stuff. These are all skills that you can translate into a more relationship or sales type role.
Oh, thank you for that, Hugh. And again, just to repeat, I think the breadth of speakers we have here today is really highlighting there's lots of different roles out there. Not necessarily subject matter experts. If you've got a will and a way and those soft skills, then more often than not, you're going to be able to find an opportunity within BT Security, especially with the numbers that will be coming out during the next few weeks. So next part of this webinar, we're going to be actually looking at the recruitment process itself. So during this, I'm going to ask Mark just to talk through the recruitment process. But again, please share your questions, be it for the presenters or actually about the recruitment process if you're having a closer look at it yourself. So Mark, if you kindly talk us through the recruitment process, please.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. So it's really simple, actually. So all of the jobs that we have available are advertised on the BT Career Centre, which is accessible via the link bt.com/security career. As I said earlier, there are a number of jobs available now, and there will be dozens of new jobs coming along in the next week or two. And as we were talking about the different levels, so there will be a number of analyst level jobs, a number of specialists, and I think a few senior specialists as well. Some project managers, some bid managers, some product managers, and so the real call to action for listeners here is have a look on the BT Career Centre. Alternatively, these jobs will all be listed on the Officers Association Executive Board and CTP's Right Job as well. So they're different places to go to, but ultimately you will go and need to apply via the BT Career Centre. The application is a CV that you will have to have, and there'll be some cover questions as well. So your right to work in the UK, your salary expectations, that sort of thing. Once you've applied for a role, your application will go through to a recruiter who will then filter those applications and send a shortlist to the hiring manager. And the hiring managers then arrange for candidates to be called forward to interview. So really simple: CV application filtered by one of our recruiters, sent to a hiring manager. You get called forward for interview if you're successful. The timescales on this, I had a chat to a recruiter, and he said, well, how long is a piece of string? Some of the roles are that we're responding to within a week and getting you to interview. Others might be a few weeks. Others might not be until sort of the autumn. So it's impossible to say how long it is for which role. My message to listeners is, if you see a role that you like the look of, then please get your application in, and it will be dealt with in a professional manner.
Thank you, Mark. And one of the things to note of the vacancies that are currently live on the OA Executive Job Board and Rights Jobs as well is the competitive salary. Maybe I'm setting you up on here, Mark, as well, but could you maybe explain a little bit why there's not a salary range as you would expect from the forces, but we're using the term competitive within there?
Well, that's a standard BT policy for our external recruitment. However, I've got some good news in that for the jobs that are listed on CTP's Right Job, we will be listing a salary range. So armed forces applicants can get a feel for what that means in terms of where they're sitting and what we're looking for. I'd also say for applicants, have a close look at the location of the job. Some of them, for instance, we have a security specialist role at the moment, is based in fixed locations. So security specialist role is in Ipswich, full stop. If you're not in Ipswich, then you might not want to consider that. However, other jobs like Dave's DDoS roles are based it could be based across the UK. So BT has a number of offices, quite a few of them actually. So if you see a job that's listed as UK and Ireland / United Kingdom, that's indicating to you that that job could be based anywhere from Exeter to Bournemouth to Swindon, London, Birmingham, Leeds, Newcastle, Manchester, Edinburgh, Glasgow. So across the country, we have offices and estate across the country. I'd also say, don't be put off by if a role doesn't immediately jump out at you. As David said, he's just recruited an Army, I think Royal Signals person who hasn't got DDoS experience, however, has got all of the networking and IP skills and experience that can be built on to turn him into a DDoS specialist. So that segues for me into our second sort of call to action for the military audience.
Yeah.
Is to engage with us on our Transition Force program. And the Transition Force program has a number of volunteers from BT, from across the business, who have put their hand up and said, I want to help an armed forces person or people find the right job in the right company that suits their circumstances. So what you can do, you can use these mentors to dig under the skin of the jobs that we're offering, to find out more about the business area that they're in, to test, what are the real essentials and desirables in the role? What's it like to work in this role? Can you be connected to somebody who's doing a similar job, or maybe have a chat with the hiring manager before you apply? I can't promise that will happen. It doesn't happen all the time, but we have made that happen in the past. So link with a mentor. They can help you understand the job. They can help you tailor your CV and get the right approach to applying for that job to improve your chances of success.
Thank you, Mark. And I think just for the number of speakers that we've got on today kind of demonstrates the level of support that's just the tip of the iceberg for what else is available through Transition Force. So it's certainly one with room. And then, of course, there's the additional route of, if you are struggling with that, you can, of course, submit your CV to this BT security team as a whole anyway, as you can see from that final email address there as well, Mark.
And I'll just outline how that works. So if you want to make more of a speculative application, or if you want, it's ultimately what will happen is your CV and cover letter will be posted, listed on a database that we have internally. So send your CV and a covering letter to security.career@bt.com. That will be acknowledged. The CV will be logged on our database, and that database can be then searched by hiring managers who are looking for suitable candidates, and they search on keywords. So just like you would set a CV up for a job application to ape the sort of words that the job description has in it, so there's some good keyword matches. That's what they're doing right now for live jobs, looking at the people who have their CVs on that database, picking them out and having a chat and inviting them to interview. So if you don't see a role, but you think that you have the skills and experience to come and work with us, then that's an option open to you to email your CV to us.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mark. So the next session is to really open it up for questions, be it of our presenters who have come from all different parts of BT security, or about the recruitment process itself, just to give a bit of clarity of what those steps would look like. And if we can field any questions, be it about the roles themselves or the process, please do share those now. So I've got a couple of questions. Please submit that more as we progress here. So the first question is just focusing in on that language. And please, guys, just shout out if you'd like to just work through this. But so, for example, we've got one individual who's listening in today who's had 16 years military security experience. They have that master's in international security as well as an MBA, but they don't have the technical qualifications. And so what are the possibilities with that wealth of experience to translate into some quite technical roles we've been talking about today?
I guess formal qualifications are great, and they really help. But again, as I suggested when I'm interviewing people, and like I say, I've interviewed this guy from the army. It's what practical experience can you demonstrate? Do you know what I mean? So is there anything practically you can demonstrate? Qualifications are not always key. They help, but again, what practically can you demonstrate where you've self-started or tried to pick these skills up? And that's the sort of thing I look for personally, I'll be honest.
And also, I think it's key to remember that BT Security doesn't just recruit techies. We recruit product managers, and the role of a product manager is to understand the market, understand the drivers, understand what things are changing, be able to work with technology providers and actually translate that into ways that our customers can understand it. And our customers aren't always techie. Quite often they're not techie. So having an understanding of security in that much broader place, having an understanding about how people talk about it, will mean there will be, and I know there will be, roles that you can be suitable for that don't require the deep techie skills. So again, don't pigeon yourself into a category, but equally don't assume that because it's BT security, everyone has to be deep technical.
Yeah, can I also just add to that? So within the CSER, as we've said before, the whole purpose of my team is that if we've got people who've got the right work ethic, the right approach and that kind of stuff, we teach you. So I will teach a lot of the guys, so I mandate across the whole team that they do what we call the cyber awareness courses, which is into 3 modules. And then once we've done that, we then start baselining our guys, where there'll be guys and girls, which will be the CompTIA Network Plus, Security Plus, Cyber Security Analyst Plus, and then depending on their path or where they're going, I'll then put them into SANS or CREST or wherever. So we will not necessarily get people in straight through the door who are qualified to death and that sort of thing. We nurture people who come through as well, and we look after them. And I've got people that are on my area that I've been looking after them for about 3 years and building them along the careers and building them up to those pinnacle layers and that sort of thing. So yeah, you're never going to get someone straight through the door hitting all the buttons. So we nurture and look after you as you come through.
I was just going to reinforce that point for a number of people I've spoke with in BT, some of the vice presidents as well that we've been interviewing about the learning pathways that are available through the standard system within BT. And I think that's worth highlighting, that these learning pathways to actually take you further and develop you further are available.
Yeah. Can I just add to that as well? Sorry, just quickly, the training that we do, we teach you. We have our own instructors, so we don't tend to go externally. We teach you from our own experience, and a lot of us are qualified instructors as well. So we do it internally. Thank you.
Yeah. So
Sorry, Mark.
thanks, Pete. I was going to talk a little bit about the BT Security Academy, and actually reflect on a role that I worked with Clem on, one of his training team specialists that's now filled. But what I really liked about Clem's approach was that he said, look, you might have some qualifications, but it is about aptitude. Initially in his team, he'll take you on board and buddy up and work on new projects. So the ability to be flexible, the ability to work with what you have, and above all, to be happy to learn new technologies and get your hands dirty. That's what I really liked in terms of an approach. And so I get asked a lot of time about what qualifications should I get. In my view, and this is just Scott's view, but what qualifications do is give a currency to the experience and the aptitude that you have. A qualification on its own with no experience, it is not worth as much, and probably exposes a bit of a risk. But if you have the experience but don't have the qualifications, then we can work with you on that, and we will recognise that.
Of course, there are concerns, especially for individuals who've maybe applied for a number of roles and maybe not go through the sift. Still, there's an expectation that a certain qualification, certain experiencing that you're looking for. Is there a way you can reassure or maybe guide those looking to go through the BT security recruitment process of how they could actually demonstrate that to make them a more valuable candidate going through the process?
So a lot of our job descriptions will say, use wording such as, you will have a recognized IT or security qualification. But to give an exhaustive list would then sort of, I think set the wrong expectations that you have to have all of these sort of things. So Clem had mentioned CompTIA. So CompTIA, Network Plus and Security Plus and Cybersecurity, any of the Cisco networking, CCNA stuff, or the CISSP or CCP. There's this big list, right, of qualifications that you can get, but it's not saying you have Clem, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's not saying you had to have all of them, right?
No, no, not at all. So if I give you an example, I've just recruited into my team, and on my job description, I had it would be nice to have the CompTIA Network Plus, a CompTIA Security Plus, etc. But here's the rub: you may not have them, but in the interview, when I'm looking at you and you're looking at me, and you're seeing if you like me, or you seeing if you feel, if BT's a fit for you, and I'm looking likewise for the company. If you don't have them, but you've got the aptitude and you're willing to learn, and we get the nice vibe, then I'll teach you them. So you don't necessarily need to be coming to the game with all these qualifications. It's nice if you've got them, because a lot of the experience you've got in the military, you will have done military courses that have a certificate from within the military, which aren't externally done. So I know exactly what you've done when you've come through, because I know how the military system works. And we'll look at that and say, well, that's fine. Okay, let's not just train you to do that. Let's certify if that's what's required. But it isn't the all and end all. But when you do come through, we'll look after you. And if you haven't got them, we train you up to those levels anyway, so it isn't a blocker.
Yeah, okay. And I guess another plug for Transition Force here, that if you do have concerns about that, there are individuals that you can get in touch with and actually talk that through before you move forward. So, the support is there as required if you are wanting to build some confidence about the time and effort that goes into an application, yeah?
And because Transition Force will give you that one-to-one bespoke advice that you need as an individual. So, out of the dozens of people who hopefully hundreds who will be listening to this webinar, every single one of you will have a different experience and skills profile, and every single one of you might be looking at a different role that we're advertising for. So matching you up in the right way and giving you that bespoke advice and guidance is what Transition Force can do. And I believe it. I don't think anything else can do that for you. Actually, it's it's really powerful if you use it properly. And it's not just somebody helping you with your CV. It is these people helping you network around our business, introducing you to other people, whether they're ex-forces or not, who've been through the same thing or doing a similar role. And that sort of thing. I mentor a lot of people, and yes, I look at their CVs, but it's much more rounded and detailed than that.
Thank you, Mark. I'm just taking that forward. I mean, this would be down to the individual listening on what qualifications and experience they have, as you say. But those project management is a very common career path that individuals look at when they're leaving the forces. But specifically, so if there's a certified Prince 2 practitioner looking at opportunities within BT Security, where would you recommend would be a good fit for them to explore further?
In terms of project management?
Yeah. So, what type of roles? We've been talking about analysts and specialists, etc. Is there any particular areas? Any of the speakers today who would say, if you've got Prince 2 as a practitioner qualification, you should at our particular business area?
Yeah, so we're likely to have a number of project manager roles from a number of different parts of our business. I can't give details on which areas they are, but they will be in the different areas of the BT Security business. So look, if you've got project management and experience of managing projects and have qualified that with a Prince 2 on APNP, that's fantastic, because that's giving you the currency to bring to us to demonstrate that you have this the ability to do the job. If I give an example, I worked a couple of years ago with an ex-army chap who had done an MSc in project management, and we helped him on the Transition Force scheme by putting him through what was currently going on at our internal project management assessment centre. And so even though this chap had a master's level qualification, he only scored 20% in our assessment centre, primarily because he had absolutely no experience of managing projects to back any of his qualification up, really. So it is that mix of experience and qualifications that we're looking for across the board. I'm just using a project manager job to highlight that.
Thank you, Mark. And maybe just as a straw poll of the four other guys on the call, have you got your project management quals, your Prince 2 or APMQ?
Hi, yes, Ian, I have. I've got my Prince 2. I've also gone through the same assessment centre that Mark was talking about, because every now and then we just like to refresh and make sure that our BI and PM people are still up to date and up to currency. So yes, I have, and it helps out quite a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. Appreciate it. Great. Okay, so I think that's us without the questions, but I think that there will be a lot of questions as an individual of what your fit would be within BT Security, be it your experiences and qualifications you have available. So once again, I will point everyone at the Careers Centre, BT Career Centre, and also to transition for, so make the most of that. What I'll do is I'll just finally finish off with this piece here of the information is available through the OA website. That will be giving you access to the Executive Jobs Board, also available for rights jobs, and also finally all these opportunities are being captured through the BT Career Centre, which you can follow that link there too as well. So Mark or the rest of the guys, can I maybe invite any final thoughts that you might leave us with?
My final thought: don't be put off by a job description if you don't quite understand it. Dig into it, network around, try to understand it, and if in doubt, put your application in and see where it gets to.
Please.
Can I just add to that as well? So obviously there'll be a few people that'll be a bit nervous because the leaving day is coming. The best way to look at it is you're being posted to somewhere else and you're going to be wearing a different uniform. So don't be frightened of it. It's not as bad as you think it is, and it's okay outside.
Thank you. No, that's a really good way to finish as well. And lots of opportunities, and actually lots of support out there. There's a lot of goodwill at the moment, and it's something to take advantage of. And talking about that, I'd just like to say thank you to all our presenters today. We've had time from the team from BT Security. I think it really demonstrates the level of support that there are in this organisation and reflects the number of opportunities that are for ex-military within the organisation. So thank you very much for taking your time out today to share your insights with us. Thank you very much.